I got to the place where I was just away from the church. I was away from serving others. It was a very difficult period in my life. And through a series of events, I was able to, God got a hold of me and brought me back into the place He had originally called me to. And so with the Reignite, I know that I'm not the only one who has wilderness seasons. And some of us, the wilderness season, it may be short, it may be a huge, big pit, and we don't know how to get out of it. We're just struggle, and we know that what we're doing may not be what we should be doing, but we don't know how to get out of it. And so the idea of we were reignited at one point to leadership, but something has gone wrong, something's happened in our lives. And so the idea of reignite means let's reignite that passion, that yearning to serve God in whatever way He may have for us. And so getting back on the horse, if you like.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you think about the importance of really staying true to the Lord and having that passion for Him, using the gifts that He has called you to use. But people do go through these seasons, these wilderness seasons. Yeah. And I understand even in the book you talk about what led to your period of time in the wilderness. What have you found to be maybe one or two of the factors that would cause a woman to get into a situation where she is really walking through a wilderness and maybe struggling to find her way back?
Well, someone once asked me, what put you in that wilderness? And I had a difficult time answering that question because it's often not just one thing that puts us in a wilderness place. It's little things that all add up, and maybe one thing finally broke the camel's back, so to speak. So I think sometimes we take advice from people that maybe is the wrong source of advice. We stop spending time with people who have our best interests at heart, and instead start doing things that are just in the opposite direction to where God had led us. And so we listen to the wrong people, possibly. That can happen. I would say, I think the only way I can answer that question is that everyone is different as far as the wilderness season and the things that happen to them to come into that wilderness is never one thing. I don't think it's ever one thing.
Obviously, the book is devoted to help women really recapture that sense of being, and of course, using that word reignite, that really conveys the attitude or the position of being on fire, if you would, or ignited to God or for God. And, I think about words such as revival and spiritual awakening. And we hear that a lot these days. And I think certainly the church today is in need of revival and for God's people to really have that passion for Him each and every day. What would you say would be maybe an essential first step or two of someone actually kind of recapturing that, well, as the Bible refers to in Revelation chapter 3, or chapter 2, I guess, their first love, and really getting back to the position they were in with the Lord and maybe even going deeper? Big question, I know.
Yes, big question. But, the thing that popped into my head first was getting back into the Word. I think that one of the things that goes by the wayside when we start going into a wilderness is getting into the Word. And I think reading our Bibles is extremely important. Having that quiet time with the Lord is extremely important. Putting ourselves back into fellowship with people who are fellow Christians, who maybe know us, maybe knew us before. Doing that, I think it really helps a lot.